You want a saw that you can trust day in and day out, something that doesn't surprise you with a broken blade or a nasty accident, and that actually saves you money in the long run. The biggest worry when stepping into a workshop with a big cabinet saw is that you might end up with a machine that's either too fragile for daily use, or so complicated that you waste hours on adjustments. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at industrial-grade 10-inch cabinet saws, the first thing I asked myself was how the machine would sit in a real shop. The SAWSTOP 10-inch industrial cabinet saw isn't a compact benchtop tool, it's a 52-inch T-glide fence assembly that practically demands its own corner. That means you need a solid, level floor and enough clearance for the full swing of a 10-inch blade, which typically translates to a space of at least 8 feet by 4 feet. For anyone with a dedicated shop or a small production floor, that's a reasonable requirement. If you're trying to squeeze a cabinet saw into a garage that also houses a car and a workbench, you'll quickly discover the footprint is non-negotiable. The headline feature that sets this machine apart is the patented safety system. In plain language, the blade drops onto a thin aluminum brake when it detects contact with flesh. The whole thing happens in about 5 milliseconds, stopping the blade before it can cut more than a few millimeters. In a workshop where apprentices are learning the ropes, that safety net can be the difference between a close call and a permanent injury. I've heard stories from other woodworkers about friends who lost fingers on standard saws. The SAWSTOP system is designed to prevent those scenarios, which makes the higher upfront cost feel like an insurance policy. Reliability is another claim that the brand leans on heavily, and it's not just marketing fluff. The 7.5 horsepower motor is sized for continuous operation, meaning you can run a series of panels or trim pieces without the motor winding down or overheating. In a production environment, downtime translates directly to lost billable hours. Users who have logged thousands of cuts on these units report that the motor and drivetrain hold up remarkably well, requiring only the usual periodic belt checks. That kind of consistency is what a shop owner looks for when deciding whether a piece of equipment is worth its price tag. Dust collection often feels like an afterthought on many saws, but the SAWSTOP cabinet includes an integrated dust port that lines up with a 10-inch shop vac or a dedicated dust extractor. When you're cutting hardwood or MDF, the amount of fine particulate that flies off can be a health hazard and a cleanup nightmare. With the built-in port, you can hook up a cyclone separator and keep the air in the shop a lot cleaner. It also means the table stays relatively free of sawdust, which helps maintain the accuracy of the T-glide fence over time. Speaking of the fence, the 52-inch T-glide assembly is one of those practical strengths you notice right away. The T-glide design slides smoothly along the rails, and the large surface area gives you a stable reference for long cuts. I've used it to rip sheet goods that are over 4 feet wide, and the fence held its position without any wobble, even when I nudged the workpiece with my hands. The fence also locks securely, so you can set a precise fence distance and walk away for a while, confident that the setting won't drift. Now, let's get into the trade-offs. The most obvious one is size and weight. This is a heavy piece of machinery, you'll likely need a hoist, or at least a few strong hands to get it into place. Once it's set, moving it isn't a casual task, so the saw is best suited for a permanent shop layout rather than a mobile job site operation. The 7.5 HP motor also demands a dedicated 240-volt circuit, which can add to the installation cost if your space isn't already wired for that load. Some buyers have mentioned the noise level, it's louder than a smaller benchtop saw, which is expected for a machine of this class. If you share a space with people who need quiet, you might have to invest in acoustic enclosures or schedule cutting times accordingly. Cost is another factor that surfaces in most conversations. This isn't a budget-friendly option, you're looking at a price point that sits comfortably in the professional range. That said, the safety system, the robust motor, and the dust collection integration all add up to less money spent on replacements, safety training, and health-related expenses over the life of the saw. For a woodshop that produces a steady stream of parts, the return on investment can be realized fairly quickly. If you only plan to use the